Good morning, everyone. Hello. As always, let's wait a little bit for all people to join in. We will start in next 2-3 minutes. So please prepare yourself with coffee, something sweet, because today will be quite interesting and quite heavy day. I see already people are joining in. I see already Austria, Algeria. Hello, guys, again. Georgia. Nice to see you all. Netherlands. Nice to see you guys. I'm happy that you join in. There will be quite a lot interesting stuff today. Quite hard, I need to say, at least at the beginning, if you're ever trying to do. Hello, guys. I see New Zealand, Slovakia, Czech Republic. Which I see, it's not the country, but still a very beautiful city. Dubai, nice to see you guys. Okay, today will be quite interesting day. Today we'll go with logic outputs and how to use them in our INTEGRA panel. If you think about logic in general, this is something that help you to do more advanced stuff. It's really, really interesting parts. Alrighty, so let's start. Let's kick in. So, hello guys, my name is Krzysztof Wojciechowski and I'm working in technical department. I will be today providing you with this beautiful webinar and about logic outputs and connection in control panel. So more advanced parts in the security system or INTEGRA panel. With me there is Łukasz Woźniak. As almost always, he will help me with all the question on chat. So if you have any kind of question, please ask them. We prefer if you ask questions regarding our products. But of course, if you have any kind of question about the meaning of life, Łukasz will help you for sure. Yeah, so if everyone joined in and you are ready to go, we can start. One more thing. If you see anything on the screen that my face will cover it for some reason, my face, I think, most of the time will be in the right top corner. You can, of course, move this part around to have a smallest view as possible. I think the right bottom corner will be the best. At least I will try to make this part free. Yeah, and of course, if you have any kind of problem with the communication or you don't hear me or something like this, you can always raise a hand and tell me that something is wrong in the right bottom corner when you have a chat. Alrighty, if we are ready and you are ready, to be honest, yeah, we can start. So today we won't be using any kind of presentation because it's not needed. For us, most important will be right now this screen, and even a little bit more important is this screen. So this is a DLoadX software configuration software for INTEGRA panel that you can use, and you can download it from our website. It's free of charge, of course. With me, there is also close to me, there is also our INTEGRA panel. There is a few functionality that I wanted to show you there before we start. Of course, today we will be talking different devices. I will be using LEDs on board. I will be using LEDs in the our suitcase in here. It will be looking something like this. Give me 1 second. I will try to show you what you can expect from today. Control outputs, yeah, like something like this. They have few different colors. They of course will mean something else in our configuration. I think today we will be able to do from types of logics or scenarios that we wanted to implement inside the security system. So we start at the beginning at explanation a little bit, because we will be using physical outputs, we will be using virtual outputs, physical inputs, and virtual inputs. This is 4 different types of outputs and inputs. The name explains itself, but to expand it a little bit. Physical outputs and physical inputs that are inputs inside Integra panel, on board, on some kind of expander. They are physical. You can touch them, you can connect something to them, and this will give you a possibility to put information to the panel or take out the information from the panel. But this is physical. You can connect something to that. Every other output and input is virtual. What it means, if you have, for example, Integra 64, you have 16 on board, at least outputs, physical outputs, and then you have rest of these outputs. So from 17 to 64, you have virtual outputs. You can use them inside the system as, for example, as to create logic or some kind of functionality inside the system. So this is quite interesting, smart part. We will be also using these outputs to trigger inputs, virtual input, to give back information again on outputs, because all the types inside the system, all the connections are able to help me to build some kind of logic. Again, I hope you know all what the logic means, and connection inside the logic. Something very basic like and or. And it means that you need to use 2 parts or more, and all need to be triggered in this case. I will be using logic more inside the security system than logic in general. And then something happens. With or one or the other, doesn't matter which one will be triggered, then or also triggers. So to explain it a little bit more on the project in the security system, you will see on the screen something like this. We have outputs in here. So in here I can configure all the outputs. Right now I'm somewhere in the middle, but from the top, we will be using mostly outputs on the INTORS, so from 17 to 24. Like fans, you won't hear fans, so I won't use them. There is LEDs, green, red, and blue. This is our outputs that we will be triggering as the physical, like lights, like valve for sprinklers, like garage doors, something like, physical that you can control something. And to check the status of the outputs, because I have in here with me, close to me, and I have LEDs on the INTORS, but I wanted for you to see my face. So I would just only sometimes going into camera view of the panel. But for the checking the status of the outputs, especially in the logic, we will be using output timers, tampers, and door states. You can find this option in the state, system state. This is the icon with the square and triangle. And then you have outputs, timers, tampers, doors, or Control Y. And you go in here and you have all the status regarding outputs, timers, etc. So this will help us to check the status of the output, especially when you're building some kind of functionality and logic. It's good to see every single state of the logic, okay? So if, for example, if this and this work together to trigger something else, then it's good to have information about both of this information and then goes further. And if logic builds in, then you can expand this information. That's why we are using output timers, output and timer status, etc. So this helps us. Also, we will be using with the zones, but in general, most focus on outputs. Next part is the keypad, virtual keypad in here. And I will be using it to test, to trigger something, to be able to control outputs that are set as mono switch, etc. This will help me to just trigger something fast without any hesitation and any problems. Alrighty, so we start from something quite easy, and I think quite common used, but in the security system. Okay, so we start with first one that it's easy, so we will use OR, logical OR. What it means? So we will be mostly using outputs type 46 and 47 that we described yesterday, and for example 47 for us will be most important in this case. So output logic are OR one or the other, doesn't matter which one of them will work, will trigger, then output logical OR also will trigger. So the first scenario that we want to use a siren in the security system just to give us two information. One is the burglary and fire alarm, and second is the chirp that we used for information or confirmation that the system is armed. Okay, so this will be quite easy. And so what we wanted to do, first of all, we will be using some kind of physical output. We are going from the back in this case, okay, of the logic. So we don't know still what is in the, what will trigger. We won't configure what is triggering. We will go from the other side. Before I start, because I almost forgot about it. When you think about logic, it depends on you how you prefer to do it. There is one solution, so one scenario that you can do in many other different styles. You can use different outputs to trigger something. You can do many different things. I will try to explain you what I'm doing and how I create logic, but in general you can do it other way around. It depends how you like it. Second part, what I wanted to add is that with the logic there is, especially with when you're working with INTEGRA panel, is something that there is a like snap in the logic. So if you starting with the logic and you're starting to create it, there is very, very hard at the beginning, but there is a one snap, and you can almost hear it in your mind, in your head, that after it, every other logic is quite easy to do. It's like, you know, you can sit and connect many things, but after the snap. So please bear with me and wait for this click in your head that you understand this part, and rest will be easy. Okay, so let's go to our scenario. So we want to use two or more information on the output to trigger this output. So let's say that our output one is our acoustic, okay? So our bell and then acoustic. Beautiful. Because I want to have this chirp, this when there is a one signal, its system is armed, two signals, the system is disarmed, the same what you have in the cars, etc. So we are using two outputs, you are using outputs logical OR, because we want to have information in here from the alarm, when the alarm is, or when it's the chirp should sound. So we will be using two virtual outputs. I will use 33. I will start from 33 and go lower. But when I'm installing security system, I always start from the bottom. and going up. Why is it? Because in when you're adding and later on when you're creating logic, it's okay, it works fine. But after you add one kind of devices like additional outputs, additional inputs, etc., and you build logic very close to what you have physical, then you will need to move all the logic to the bottom so it's not doesn't look nice. And you need to do a lot more work. So we will start in this case from 33. So I know that I want to trigger from two things. So alarm and chirp. So I will be using two outputs. 33 will be logic 1. This is how I describe logic. Then it's easier for me to find what is connected to what. If logic 1, then L1, and I can build something on it. So this is the alarm. Okay. And alarm, of course, I will be using fire burglary. I want to have all the information in here. This is acoustic, so I will leave 30 seconds. I don't want to, mess with my neighbors. And of course, I will be using alarm from every single zone. So yeah, I can trigger this information here. Rest, I will leave it like this. I don't care. And then another input that I want to use is the chirp. So as I remember, okay, I'm not sure if it's pronounced it properly, use a word properly, but I will give me 1 second. I will just make a little more. It was where it was. A beep, arm disarm beep. Yeah, let's stick with beep then. So L1 beep. And I have information, and I want only from partition 1. Okay. If I want to add more, I can add more virtual outputs. So in this case, right now, I will have, when there is alarm from all the partitions, I have 33 will trigger, so will turn on. And 34 will also turn on when there is this beeping sound. So when I armed. So I need to connect this physical output that will trigger siren, in this case, the acoustic part of it, to these two outputs. So 33 and 34. And that's all. I need to save it to the panel. And let's check about the status of the system. So first of all, output 1, I give 1 second. No, I need to leave it always. So we need to look at output 1 and 33, 34. Okay. So if right now I disarm the system, so let's use this. I will use administrator password. Alarm cleared. Did you see the blinking on the screen on the outputs? Maybe I would do something else, and I have, yeah, maybe I will do something like this. I will do the same logic, but on red. So I will use 47 or none 33, 34. I switch camera for you guys to see it properly. Okay. And then let's save it and do it one more time. Okay. Sometimes you will see the blinking when I'm writing this information to panel. Okay, so I arm the system. Yep. Did you see this blink on the LEDs? Yes, it means the system is armed. And if I disarm it, there should be 2. Yeah. So I have confirmation on the system. Right now, also, I want to create some kind of alarm. Just give me 1 second. I will check the status of the zones, if they will work properly. Okay, there is a tamper in here. I think this will be 1. 1 second. Okay. Okay, I understand why. Give me 1 second. And I just needed to configure one more thing, guys. Sorry for that. And I will turn off everything. All right. One thing what I will do in here is I copy, I change the configuration because in here I have something like this. I will copy this part. Okay. Control V. Paste. Okay. This is fine. None and none. Okay. Now it will work properly. So right now, if I have alarm, so I will arm the system. I will also show you zone status in here. If you see, because I will be triggering zones. So I will arm everything. Yes, I want to arm everything. Okay, there is a beep. There is this beep, so it will blink. In my case, we need to wait for the exit time. So in general, what I have in here right now, I wanted to show you that if I have an alarm, 33 will turn on. What it means, bell also, so the output one, the physical, that one with that is connected to siren also will trigger. So this should help, this should prove this concept at least. If we wait like 5 seconds. Okay, so only garage is still arming, but it doesn't matter because we have information about the alarm. So if I trigger zone 1, as you see in here, there is an entry time, I think, and after it there will be an alarm. Let's see the status of the partition state. Yeah, there is an entry time, 30 seconds, and there will be alarm. I should change this configuration earlier to have this done properly. But nevertheless, after 30 seconds, as you see, entry delay in here, there is alarm. So 33 is triggered because there is alarm, and it means that output 1 is triggered, and that's why you have on the screen red LEDs on the top of it. Okay, so this is how to combine many inputs just to have information about the status. And right now I will disarm the system. So this, you see the blinking. So this is disarmed system. Of course, it will blink little more time, like I think it's 6 or 7 times when there was some kind of alarm previously, or something that you need to take in consideration. If it will be just disarm without alarm, it will be just 2 times, as the explanation why it's blinking so many times. So right now we have the simple functionality for the security system. Okay, so we have 2 information about burglary and fire, and about arming, disarming beep on the physical output. So we have this in configuration. Guys, I will need a little bit of your confirmation. Do you understand this part? Everything is fine? Do you want a little more in depth, or this is quite, or is okay with you guys? I see one question. Yes, good. I see one question. Okay, I'm talking all the time about Bell 1 because in my mind I always connect their siren, but in this case my my LED is output 22 that is on the INT ORS on this, so that's why you see the blinking. Okay, sorry for that. I said that you look at the output 1. So this is output 22 where I should have a siren connected. Sorry for that. Little my mistake. Okay, so we have OR. So we can combine many information. And if one of them is triggered, then the main one, like physical output, is triggered also. 22, output 22, Marco. In this case, it's 22 because this is on the IRS. Okay. All righty. So let's go to the second type of output that we will be using. And this is logical AND. So this will give us possibility to have both or many information that will need to be together activated to activate physical output. Okay, how we can use AND? For example, yeah, we can use something like controlling the garden lights. Okay, let's say for at least for this is green. Okay, let's say for this case that the green LED in here, so output 21 is your garden light. You have INT-ORS where you connected a garden light circuit with 230 volts, and you wanted to trigger it on some period of time. There is two things. First of all, because we are creating very easy scenario, you can expand it later, but we're creating something easy. It's done by two things. First of all, it will turn on the lights only when it's, let's say, it's starting to take to be dark right now from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. but also only when you trigger the detector outside. Okay, so let's say that right now detector 1 will be our external PI dual technology garden. Ready? And of course we use instant to just trigger faster alarm. Yeah, 5 seconds. Let's do something like this for next case. So we wanted to use two things. First one will be time. So again, we need to use some kind of outputs, virtual outputs. Let's make a small space in here just for you to see the difference. So L2, because this is the second logic that we want to use, it's timer. And L2 will be also duo garden. This is our information about that the zone was violated from the security system. Okay, so this will be our detector. So for the timer, we use quite simple in here timer. So 26. We choose only timer 1 in this case. Let's go to timers right now. Let's see how they are configured. They are configured like this. So every day from 2 to 4. Okay. So in general, we wanted to start this from 10 to 4 a.m. Okay, so 4. This will be the configuration, but because this is the timer, I needed to do And I need to wait until there is a moment of the system that there is a 10 p.m. and then the timer will turn on. I will do it by the clock inside the system, but for now, the timer 1, this is garden lights, okay. So we set the timer 1, perfect. So we have a triggering time, and right now detector. So we will use in here something that you can use it in many different ways, but in my case, normally I will use a ready status with the polarization opposite to polarization. What it means? Ready status, if you want to know a little more about it, F1 button, again, very big one, very important part, F1, and it's 17, so this is the ready status. Indicates whether the system is ready for arming, whether there are no violated zones. So if this output will trigger when there is no violated zones, and I want to have opposite for it, so I will negate this part. And that's why I changed the polarization. Polarization is negation of how the output works. What it means? Let's think about output 20, okay? This is fun, but it doesn't matter in this case. So if the B switch is in the normal status, so nothing trigger it, and I save this information to the panel, it's turned off because nothing trigger it, okay? If I negate this part, then normal status will be active. There is a difference between normal and triggered status or active status and the status of the physical output. In this case, this is negation. So the normal status is giving 12 volts or COM, etc. If this marks, and I mark this option, then normal status is nothing. No input is sent. I hope you understand this part. So if the system is, if the detectors are not violated, then the ready status is active. If I want to negate this information, I will use polarization, turn off both polarization. And of course, I will only mark one zone because I have garden in there, so garden detector in there, so I want to use only one zone. Okay, so right now, I created when it should trigger, so I want to set logical end on the outputs, and it's 37, 38. Am I right? Yes. And saved it to panel. I hope, guys, that you are with me, still with me on this part. So right now, with the OR, doesn't matter which one will be triggered, output also will be triggered. With AND, both of them need to be triggered, all of them need to be triggered to output logical AND also be triggered or active, okay? So in this case, if I will show you status of the zone 1 and also about the status in here. So if I press output 1, I will trigger zone 1. Then you will see that the zone output 38 that follows zone 1 is active. Okay, this is fine. 37 is not because the time right now is 10 a.m., 10:34 a.m., so it's not a problem. So timer is turned off. Okay. So the 21, so the green LEDs, so the lights in our garden is turned off. Simple, because timer is off. But what if we change the time in the system? Something to pass security, how to say it? the configuration. So if I change the time in the panel to be able to trigger in the 15 seconds timer. So for the panel right now is almost 10 p.m. Okay, in 5 seconds there is a 10 p.m. and the trigger will turn on. The timer will turn on. You see the timer in here? It's turned on. 37 output also is turned on because they follow this output follow timer. So if I trigger zone, I have lights in the garden. Okay, this is how it's done, because this is the 10 p.m. at least for the security system. I see one question in there from Marco Pen. Okay, why I don't want to change timer? Because right now for the panel, if you see right now, if I change time for timers, so let's say if I change right now time for, let's do it differently. Sorry, if I just change time back to our time, that's 10:36. Then I can disable it, and it's easier a little bit than changing the timer. I wanted to have this part, the timers part in here very, as I say, it will work. Later on, I will try to send you this configuration if you like. So you have some kind of, how to say it, template in the Deload X, how to do stuff inside. Yeah, and of course, Łukasz explained it properly. Alrighty, so we know how to create OR and AND logic. So we can do a little more harder part. So let's do let's expand this configuration of the lights, because it's nice that the lights will trigger on some period of time or for the detector or other way around. For example, you can do it a little bit different. So let's expand it. In the garden, when right now the lights will be that long, how to say it, the lights will be turned on as long as the detector is triggered. So the zone is triggered. I will again set time for something like 59. Have this time that the timer is on. But I wanted to not have as long as the PIR is working or zone is triggered, because in most cases it will be 2 seconds. I want something else. I want to have some time, like if the detector is triggered, let's give the 10 seconds light, okay? So right now I can do something like this. And if I trigger zone, okay, 1 second. Because there is polarization changed, okay? Let's write it down back again. Okay, so right now, when there is a 10 p.m., after 10 p.m., and there is a mono switch for 10 seconds, if I trigger zone just for 1 second like this, and I removed, as you see, zone is not triggered, we wait 10 seconds and we have lights for 10 seconds, and then of course output after 10 seconds turned off, lights turned off. So this is something that you can use in the garden. Maybe even better to use a mono switch in this case. But you understand the idea, okay? But we want to expand this functionality even a little bit more. I will do something like this. So let's build a little bit, because we wanted to also be able to go and trigger this information on the wall, because we have switch on the wall that is connected to a panel, or we can use, for example, key fob for it to trigger this information. I will use a button like zone 2 in this case. Okay, this could be switch on the wall, this could be key fob, this could be many different things. For me, this will be zone 2. So what I will do, I would I can do B switch in this case. So 25, this will be logic 2, because we are still in the logic 2. This will be on, off, switch, and I will just mark in here zone 2. Okay. So right now, I need also for this logical end put additional output 39, because I programmed 39 in here. Save it to panel. So after, right now I can control the lights with this configuration. If I switch on the wall, sorry, one more thing. I need to configure one more thing, because I didn't configure this one. Okay, my zones didn't work. Right, this is the panel. Okay, so if I trigger, this is like main on-off switch. If the zone 2 is triggered, then the output is turned on, and then if I trigger the lights, the detector, they will turn on. Okay, for 10 seconds. Of course, I can always turn it off. This is one way how you can do it. So you create like a master switch. If it's turned on, then the detector will trigger and start this functionality. But if I wanted to do a little bit different, if I wanted to nevertheless, doesn't matter if the timer is on or off, or the zone is triggered or not, I want to turn on, turn off the light. I will need to use on the physical, I will need to move this to the virtual part. So let's use 36. So I can do it manually, or I can just take this part, mark it, right button, copy, mark in here, paste. So I use a copy paste in here. In here, I will create L2 logic. In this case, and this will be, maybe I can say garden. And then I will disable one thing, because right now I don't want to have master switch. I want to have this to turn on off the light, but on physical output I will use OR, because I'm using the same, so OR logic with the timer and the detector, or B switch to turn off the light. And in here I just marked 36, I will turn it off, and 39, because this will be my logic and this will be my switch on the wall. And if I program everything properly, you will see something like this. So if there is a night, so this is after 10, because for my panel right now is 10:06. And if the zone is triggered, you see that 36 is triggered, so 21 is also triggered, so we have light in the garden, as you see. For 10 seconds. After it will turn off. But also on the wall, I can just press the button and the lights will turn on. Press the button and the lights will turn off. Quite simple. So this is something that you can control in two different ways. One way was that you create a master switch, and the other way you are using something to be able to trigger to turn on off the lights. Doesn't matter the logic, you don't care about it, but you create this part. And that's how we created something that is logic inside logic. So we have one logic in here and one logic in here on the lights. So you have put two logic inside. Okay, guys. Is that clear for you guys? Do you understand this part? Any kind of confirmation? At least 3 people, and I'm happy. Okay, I see one person. Good. Even more. Perfect, guys. Thank you very much. I'm happy. I'm trying to be as clear as possible and how to check the logic and how it works. Because only for me, from my experience, most important is the part of the output status, because then I see the parts of the logic, how they combine and how I have result. Okay, guys. So very fast sip of coffee. And let's go a little farther. So right now we are able to control the lights in the garden. We can combine logics. So let's do something more tricky. Let's control our beautiful detector Luna. I don't have Luna with me right now. For Luna, I will use a blue light. Okay? So this will be my end logic. This will be my physical output that I will be triggering as the zone for Luna to start the LED inside there. So let's do logic 3. In my case, I want to control Luna by many different things. First of all, I want to control it if the Luna is triggered. My detector Luna, in this case, will be output PIR. So it will be Luna for me. So it will be zone 3. I want to also have a possibility to receive this information from the dusk sensor. For me, this will be zone 4, connected to zone 4, and then that's why I have information about it. Okay. Also, I wanted to receive this information because when the detector sees movement, then turn on the lights. We already did it with the garden. Then only this will work when the time is when there is a dark, so I have some kind of dusk, again some kind of zone. We will copy almost the same thing. Then also I wanted to trigger this Luna when there is no AC in the system. Why? Because the Luna is in the front of my fuse box, so if I have no power in the building, or my fuse just it will just burn, or I need to do something with it, then I have lights in there. So I want to have information about the AC, so this part, and then I want to have a blinking Luna when there is alarm. So I want to combine all of these things into one, and I think this is quite easy. So 31 I will use as the triggering, because this is Luna, so violation of Luna. Okay, and I will use for this the same as the garden, so 24 for, let's say, not 2 minutes, 20 seconds, because this is very close. and I want to have none. We said that Luna is zone 3. Alrighty. Then next logic was task sensor, so zone 4. In my case, Dusk doesn't work as Luna on or most of the PIR detectors or dual technology on the impulse. Dusk sensor work on status, so it will be triggered as long as it's enough dark or it's dark. When it's light in close to it or it's see light, then give me a status. So I will use a ready status with polarization turned off from zone 4 because this is my task sensor. So I have status from this detector. Next part, what I wanted to use as the input, it's no AC. So L3 no AC. The panel. So I have 28 AC lost mainboard immediate. So it means that in the moment where I lost AC, it will turn off. It will turn on. Sorry. There's also additional one that will give me information after this delay of no AC, but I want to use immediately because I wanted to have immediate information about it. And when there trouble is, then the Luna will turn on. Perfect for me. And the last output that I wanted to use is when there is an alarm. So when there is alarm, so L3 again, logic free, alarm. And I want to use burglary alarm. Let's use fire and burglary from every single zone and until it's disarmed, because this is the light in the corridor. So when there is, it will give me this information. But I wanted to have this blinking like a pulse alarm. So I will use a pulse information in here. Write it to panel. And right now, blue as our logic 3, I want to change for 47 because I want to use all of them. Doesn't matter which one will trigger, at least in this case. But of course, I wanted to use both of them to be able to trigger together. So again, L3. This is logic Luna. So this will be 46, the same as we did in garden. From two outputs, and this will be output 41, 42. And then in here, I need to add 45 as the information about the Luna triggering and the dusk sensor working together. Then I want to have information about AC and alarm status. Write it all down to the panel. So right now, the lights will turn blue when the Luna is working. So if Luna will be triggered, so zone 3 is triggered, nothing happens. I have information on the output 41, but physical output doesn't react. Okay. If just a dusk sensor will work and the Luna will work, then my logic works and I have lights. Of course, when the 20 seconds from the Luna turned off, everything goes to dark, turned off. If there is a AC lost, so I will turn on the AC, you see the light. So I can go to my fuse box, turn on the lights, or turn on the fuse. And of course, when the trouble is gone, I will go in here. Where is the troubles? they will also turn off. Okay. And the next part was when there is alarm. So let's arm the system, but give me 1 second. I will just change the time of the exit because this is a little bit too long for my taste. We have 5 seconds. Users need to be very, very fast. So when we arm, so let's arm it. Yes, I want to arm. There is a blinking on the red because our siren arm system. System is armed. Perfect. So if there is an alarm and I'm triggering any kind of zone in here, you will see that there is a green light. I think, yeah, you see the blinking? It's changing because we have two lights. We have blue and red give us purple. That's why. I did properly? Yeah. Okay. And of course, blinking the beep on the red that this is this system is disarmed and alarm is cleared. Okay. I hope this is quite easy. We did almost the same thing with the logic 3 and logic 2, but I wanted to show you how to do it on the Luna because I love this detector. Really, it is one of my favorite ones. That's why I wanted to show you something more. Give me 1 second. I will just turn the window off because, yeah, there is some kind of movement in here. Yeah, good. So we can go to next logic. And again, little more advanced right now. We will do our sprinklers. Again, smart home functionality. So let's use for the sprinklers. Let's use in this case, let's use a green again, okay? So I will go in here, disable logic 2, but also red I will turn off and blue I will turn off to have just a clear view of what we have in here. So let's build logic 4. This will be sprinklers. So, and we wanted to use our sprinklers with the many different information. First of all, we wanted to start sprinklers at 8:30 in the morning. So we will use timer. We want to have information about the humidity of the earth, of the ground. So we have information that, for example, it was raining yesterday, so I don't need to, or in the middle of the night, so I don't need to use sprinklers. This detector costs like, I don't know, €1 or €2, and you can put it in the ground connected to the panel and you are ready to go. Of course, you will use some kind of threshold in there, but nevertheless, this is quite easy and simple to do. There is also one thing that we want to prevent when this happening. It means that the movement detector, because we have a detector in the garden. So if for some reason it's like Sunday and I don't know, doing something with my kids in the garden or doesn't matter what, and the detector see movement in there, I don't want to trigger sprinklers. It will be fun for sure, but maybe it's not the best. And of course, at the end, there is a master switch that, for example, I know that I don't want to use a sprinklers in the garden. I can turn them off manually, like a master switch for the sprinklers. Okay. Good. So our sprinklers are green 21 and logic 4. So we need to few information. First of all, of course, we use a timer. So we program a timer in this case, and yeah, 26, and only timer 1. We will be using the same one. I will change the configuration of this timer right now, that this will be working on 8:30 as I remember, and let's 8:31 turned off, because we want to just impulse of the time. So when there is 8:30, I want impulse, nothing else, okay? Of course, in this case, because if we are already with the time, I can set that, let's say from 1st of November to, I don't know, 1st of May every year. Like, I don't want to do anything. What it means that from 1st of, let's say 2020 to 2021, let's say, for this reason, I don't want to do anything. So I know that it's already snowing. I don't want to use my sprinklers in there, so I can turn them off as the timer. I don't need to use a master switch for it. But for example, that you can use also exceptions. Dobra. Okay, good. So we have timer. This is one thing. Next part, as we talk about it, is humidity. Humidity of the ground we will use our output for, so logic for, and humidity sense, something like this. And again, we will use and we will use some kind of again ready status, because they also show information about the status. So if it's too wet, it will turn on, at least in my case. So I just changed the name of it, and this will be right now our humidity sensor. Okay. One more thing, if I'm using this type of sensors, I would never use zone type. I will use 47, no alarm action, okay? So there is no alarm. I don't want to know if it's raining and there is alarm in there. So this is second part of our logic. So this will create our logic when it should start as a logic end. Yeah, logic end. So logic sprinklers, and in here we wanted to have 46. No, 1 second. 46. Yes, from two outputs that we wanted to program it here. So 48 and 49. Am I right? Timer and ready status. Good. So right now we have our logic for the sprinklers, but I specially put it as the virtual output because I want to use this information to something else. I want to block it. So I want to block it by what? I want to block it by movement from the detector. So I want to use a garden detector, and for some period of time. So let's say that if the detector see movement like for 1 minute, after every single 1 minute, after every single triggering from detector 1, as I remember, I have in the garden, yes, then this whole functionality shouldn't start. So again, logic 4, logic block from the detector. I'm thinking if I can shorten this up. Yeah, I can block this even more. L4. I will do it. Okay, because we are going into blocking something, the blocking functionality. So if this is blocked, so if it's triggered, it should be turned off because it will work logic end only when they are all the inside the logic parts are on. So in this case, I will use something in here like 46 logic end. I wanted to make as small as possible for you guys. So I will use 50, 51, and 52. Why I want to use 52? Because I want to use also a master on off. And in this case will be B switch, so 25. And no zone. I want to use, for example, I can use a macro for it. I can use a from INTEGRA control. I can turn them off, etc., etc. So I don't need to use a B switch for it. Sorry, zone for it. But let's say I have also on the wall, yeah, zone 3 in this case. So switch on wall ports 47. And this will be this. So right now, if we look at how we did it, we wanted to start with the logic from the timer and when the humidity sensor is on. Simple. We will create this logic and then we want to block it by the mono switch if we see movement, and we can block it or turn it on when the master is on off. Okay. I would do something like, okay, let's leave it like this. I will write it down. So right now, the lights will blink when the timer is turned on. It's not because we changed the status of the timer. When the humidity sensor is turned on, so we have zone 4 is turned on. So let's turn on the timer, okay? One thing, let me give to check one thing. I would just change also master to be other polarization, because in other case it won't start. Because remember that in end all of them need to be turned on. So I have master is off, so we can work this logic. Then garden detector is on because it's turned other way around, so it's okay. And we have 49 because humidity is low, so we have alarm status from there, or violation status there. So let's do a timer right now. Hope it's not too much information, guys. I'm trying to explain something that is quite hard in simple words, how I see how it works. So 29 and 45 seconds. Yes, 8 also. A accept. So we need to right now wait for the system to be 8:30. You will see the timer will turn on, so 41 output will turn on. Sorry, 48 will turn on. This will give us I made mistake, guys. This need to be turned on as the polarization. And then we have sprinklers working. If there is a movement in the garden, 1 second, zone 1. One second, why it's not counting? Okay, I need to do it one more time. Okay, if there is a movement in the garden, then this will turn off. So 51 will turn off. So 21 will turn off because the logic is from the 4 different places. Oh, yeah. Okay. Is this okay with you guys? There is one more thing, because right now we put our sprinklers for 1 minute to turn on. Right now we can change it. We can make it for 20 seconds. If you have some kind of additional functionality like controller of the sprinklers and you want to have impulse in there, not the status for the longer, then you can, for example, make it that this timer will turn on for 1 second and the sprinklers, depending on the humidity, etc., will turn on, turn off. You can work around the logic as much as you can. Most important part, that you can put logic, one logic in the other logic. It doesn't matter if it's and or, etc., etc. You can build on this part quite a lot. Okay, guys? Okay, there is more than 1 hour of it. Guys, last one question for you. I hope the answer from your side will be as I think it will be. But we will see. So, guys, please answer me this one question before we end. Do you understand this? Or this is something that you are at least close to understand what I did in here? Because for me, this is very important, because every single time when I'm doing a training like this in person, I see the people faces and I understand and see what they are talking about and if they understand this part or not. So guys, if you understand it, good. I see that it's easy. Good. One more person, please. One more person is said. If it's fine, I'm happy. And yeah. Okay, let's repeat L4. Okay. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So right now, the timer, so the sprinklers will work at 8:30 with the timer 4. It's the main trigger for it. Then it will trigger only when the ready status of the humidity sensor, so the humidity is low enough to be triggered, and if they both are at the same time, they will trigger. Then you have this as the logic sprinklers. Then you can also do this. You can block it if there is a movement in the on site. So the garden, there is a movement in the garden, so you could have this information in here. So this is blocked. And there is a master on off. So you can always turn it off or turn it on. If you need more explanation, because I can't talk 2 ways with you, so this webinar will be on our website. Please go there and listen to it again. I hope so, at least. And yeah, so very fast, because we are already after the time. Let's jump to your questions. I know that I think you have some questions in there, so let's go there. Let's see what question we can choose. Okay, what output is making the LEDs to blink? This was logic, as I remember, logic 3. It was alarm. So you have pulse in here. If I do, for example, like in here, this will be pulsing. All the time will be pulsing as the output goes. Sorry, you don't see the screen. This option in here, you have column pulse. If this is marked, it means that this output will pulse all the time, okay? Maybe not when the latch is on, but it will pulse all the time. It's like 1 second for 1 second. On, off, on, off. Alrighty. Next question. Good. Can you use logic AND and OR with wireless zones outputs too? Yes, you can. And it doesn't matter if it's on the zone or on the output, you can always do it. Doesn't matter how, it always you can do. Just do this part. And yeah, you can use it as much as you want. So yeah, yes, you can. Maybe I will add one thing. Please remember that wireless devices has some kind of delay. With ABAX 2 is better. If you compare it to ABAX 1, it's a lot better. It's faster working system. But in general, there is some kind of delay. In some cases, if something not, with the logic, and especially if you are using a logic 1 second of the logic, there can be some kind of, they miss each other in the logic. So please take into consideration that sometimes their delay is in there. So you need to not work on 1 second, but for example, 2 second impulses. That's all. Is it possible to try output when mouse click? It's possible to try output. No. We can't control output from the deload X because output is controlled for some reason in the system. Clicking is not, sadly, it's not in there. Also, please remember that you can't use macros in keypads or in the INTEGRA control, so mobile application, to control outputs that are not controllable, they are not marked as that you can control. So you can't, for example, from the macro, control output fire and burglary because the output will react only fire burglary. The same in here. You can't control from the mouse click. You always need to do something in the system. And the next question, is it possible to use a built-in thermometer from new detectors as a threshold monitor sensor, or I must use temperature sensor for that? Okay, if you are using, this is a very interesting question, Marco. I love this question. Okay, if you want to use a threshold from the temperature from the detector, you have two possibilities. First possibility is that you use a thermostat, so output. You choose from what detector you are using temperature, and you set temperature values. But this is only low threshold. If it's lower than right now 70 degrees, then it will turn on, okay? But you can't control if it's too high. So, or different way, you can control if it's too high if you negate it. So if you use something like this, and you want the temperature between 70 and 75, at least the idea, I hope you never have this type of temperature in the room, at least when you are inside. You have something like this, and you can do it other way around. If it's lower than 75, let's do something that will be more not on the end of the range. Let's say 35 and 30. So if it's lower than right now 35, the output will turn on, but it's negated, so it's turned off. So you can use thermostat for it. But also, please remember, I'm not sure if I have any kind of detector in here on the wireless that have thresholds. Yes, I have. Good. So if you go to the detectors of the ACU and you have temperature, in the configuration, you have 2 zones of the temperature detector like ATD or AXD 200, it will show up as ATD 100, so the temperature detector. And then you can use the high threshold will be 15, low threshold will be -30, and you can then use zones for it, not a thermostat inside the system. So yes, you can use this information in general, and I hope this explains how you can use it. Okay, guys. Last question. Why can't we relate the built-in temperature sensors value in, for example, RMD2 output? Yes, you can, but you need to use a thermostat for it. Threshold in the zones, on the zones, you can only build in the detector AXD 200 set as the temperature detector, or ATD 100, because this is a temperature detector. Only then you can use as zones for it. But any other way, any kind of detector, the wireless detector with the temperature, you can use a thermostat like this, that you have threshold low and threshold high on outputs. So yes, you can. But for this, you are using thermostat in this case. One more thing that I will add, please remember that the name of the option was created for some reason, for some applicants. But for me, when I'm creating logic, I'm always thinking about how the output is reacting, not the name of it. Sometimes I can use like, I don't know, information like arm status, but I will not use the partition to be with the detectors, but for example, to control shutters in the building, etc., etc. So you can combine all this information in there. Okay, guys, we are past our time. Thank you very much. I hope you understand as much in here as possible. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Łukasz, for helping. I saw that there was quite a lot of questions in there. As always, it was a pleasure for me to provide you with this webinar. There is a new webinars next week, and I think after it also, with the new devices, and could be quite interesting for you guys, especially if you are interested in the Perfecta system. This will be something nice for you also there. So yeah, please stay tuned, and thank you very much. See you guys. Bye bye.